And I know that you've done a lot of work to kind of revolutionize the meat industry. And I'm wondering, as an expert on animal behavior and humane livestock handling, have you ever thought about becoming vegan?
No, first of all, if I don't have a certain amount of animal protein, I simply can't function. And I think there are genetic differences. I actually tried going on a vegan diet eons
Mm-hmm.
ago. I will get all lightheaded. I cannot function.
Okay.
I think there are genetic differences. Also, it's done a lot of thinking about uh, our use of animals. I feel very strongly we've got to give animals a life worth living, a really good life. The other thing is looking at some of the environmental concerns with livestock. I've done a lot of looking into things like crop rotation, and when you use grazing animals in crop rotation, it actually improves the land. We have huge amounts of land all around the world where the only way you can raise food on it is grazing animals. And a really good example is the outback of Australia. And you don't realize how vast that is until you fly over it in a small airplane. I had a chance to do that just 3 or 4 years ago. And you go look at all this land, and you're flying on this plane, and there's nothing. There's no houses, no electrical wires, no nothing. And then there in the middle of nowhere, there's a cattle station. And we land on a dirt strip. It has their own generator. I'm completely off the grid. And I look at this, and if you do this carefully, raising food in a very sustainable manner, you're not going to crop this land. You don't have enough water in the ground to crop the land. And animals, when they're used really right, can improve the soil health. You use them wrong, they wreck pasture. I want to emphasize they got to be used right. The other thing I learned from an agronomist, and this is why it's important to go across disciplines, I want to commend our animal science department at Colorado State. This was about 3 years ago. They invited an agronomist to come to our animal science seminar. And it was one of the few times I wasn't out of town, and I was there. And I learned from this agronomist that the very best cropland in the US, the very best that we have, Iowa and Illinois, was created by herds of grazing bison. It's a grazing animal. They created some of the best cropland that we have. Yeah, we need getting the livestock back on the land. And I'm not an expert in this area, but I'm just doing enough on it to learn. I've read a lot of scientific articles on it that this is the way to go. Now, I want to emphasize it's very local. A grazing rotation or crop rotation that would work in one part of the US or maybe work in one part of Europe will not work somewhere else. It's very, very local. I can't emphasize enough. You have to get local advice on what crops to use. Well, one economist said, the $1 million question is, what seed mix do you put in the seeding device for seeding the cover crops? That's you need local advice.
That's really interesting and something I know nothing about.
Well, I didn't knew very little about it until about 10 years ago. I've
Hmm.
been around for a long time. I'm 73 years old, so I've been in the industry pushing 50 years.
Yeah.
But I really started getting interested in this because we've got to do things that improve the land and improve sustainability. We've got to do that. And when you look at some of these vegan products, you've got a big supply chain with a lot of different complicated ingredients on it. Each one of those has to be transported by trucks, by rail.
Yeah.
And I don't think the full life cycle of some of those products has been completely figured out.
Right.
I've
Yeah.
looked at the ingredients lists.
So, with more and more companies selling laboratory produced meat, what do you think will happen to the future of cattle?
Well, I think it's going to be a place for the grazing animal because there's a lot of or sheep and goats. I'm going to put all the grazing animals together because they can utilize land for food that you can't utilize any other way. And they do it very efficiently because the sun makes the grass grow. I've got a plant here that's it's like really weird. It's like crawling over to the window because that's where the light is. It's like sucking the sun up. And the part gets the most sun on it. That's it's like free energy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very, very energy efficient. Uh, and some of the stuff I've got to look at is the energy requirements to do some of this stuff. In some of the work I've done with the restaurant companies, I worked on the McDonald's animal welfare audits. And the people that did that I worked with, are what's called supply chain management people. They're the people in charge of buying all the product and then making sure the supply chains work. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. And then when you look at everything that goes in to make supply chains work,
You've been watching Autism Knows No Borders. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know what you think in the comments section. Click here to watch this interview in its entirety. You can also find us on your favorite podcast app. Tune in each week for engaging conversations of how people across the globe are inspiring change and building community. Thanks for watching. Take care.